So once again, welcome everyone. It is great to be here on an amazing evening talking about a theme that is so important, teaching and learning perhaps also from our younger generations. Um, I have dedicated most of my adult life actually to learning and teaching. That is part of let's say, my MO. I love teaching and I love learning. And last year, I really embraced this new opportunity. Later, we will talk with Dariusz about all the wonderful things that he has been doing for families in the United States for the last couple of years. But I would like to start with a little introduction to inspire us why this is something that grabbed my attention, especially during this month, the month of financial literacy. So I'm going to share a couple of visuals with you guys. So let's have the next slide. So when you think in terms of kids, you might think of your own situation when you were younger, and you think, okay, remember the lemonade stand and how everybody started as a child and how our parents tried to explain to us the principles of how to go about thinking in terms of money and value and things like that. Well, I did a little research on the internet, nothing very deep, but just to see what is out there right now. And the the lemon stand nowadays is actually this what you're seeing. So young children nowadays are not anymore thinking of themselves perhaps the way we thought about ourselves, and which comes naturally, I think, with the Zoom world and with everything we have out there in terms of opportunities to project our personas in the universe. It's not strange, but in a way, it is really endearing to see this kind of thing. I just collected a couple of bosses and entrepreneurs, companies that were started by children and really young children. I mean, here we're talking 10, 8, 13, and 11. Meet Tate and Tanner, selling their own T-shirts. The Nobo soap is by a young guy called Benjamin, who went on Shark Tank and got the attention of the sharks and was, was coached to really take his company to the next level. So this is something that perhaps my title of teaching your kids to become financially savvy, maybe we are going to get to the conclusion that we are going to learn from them. But I would like to go to our next segment and really introduce my special guest. Dariusz is a person that is very special. He was actually a young Olympic athlete himself. So in that way, he also started young to be an expert in whatever he put his minds to. He went on to becoming what he is today, a great broker and someone that really informs and teaches families all over the United States to become financially savvy, if you will. He happens also to be my mentor and my friend. I really am privileged to have someone like him teaching me how to understand financials in this era that we live. Dariusz, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm going to unshare so that we can see you. Thank you so much for being here. The other thing why I think it's really great to have you here is that you actually are the proud father of a young, perhaps next generation entrepreneur, your daughter, who seems to be a very determined young lady. So you know from both sides how the financial savviness can, develop. So welcome.
Thank you, Juliette. It's my pleasure to be here. And good evening, everybody. You guys don't have to clap your hands. Come on. Anyways, glad to be here. So thank you for the great introduction.
Yes, of course. I'm going to start with the first question, actually, that has to do with how I introduced you. How did becoming a dad change your ideas about your financial priorities and the choices you thought that you would make from that point on? Let's start there.
Sure. So maybe I start from this little pre-frame here. So I became a father of at age 33. So it's kind of late for like my generation that you used to, I mean, my colleagues when I came from, right? Classmates, right? They had their first children at 22, 23. Well, I didn't have my first little girl 33. And how did that change? Well, my look on finances changed tremendously. Well, number one thing is, children these days, especially the young children, they think way different than we were thinking. But speaking about the money part, well, of course, like any new parent, there's a lot of there's a learning process, and there's a lot of things that go out of place. And so, though our finances went a little bit out of place, and I had to, I would say, just pay more attention to my relationship with money or with the finances in general, right? And not only mine, but also my with the conversation we have with my wife and all this stuff. Because one thing that we didn't want it to share in our household is stressing about something silly like money, like it's something that is just a tool, right? But of course, with the newborn, there's a lot of concerns. There are a lot of things that you take into the consideration. When should we start saving for a child? When should we start investing? What we should spend money on, right? And all these things. So basically, it's an overwhelm of the information, and it's what we basically did. And by the way, I've been in the money game and finances for 15 years. Okay. Going 16 years now. So you're talking to the person who've been around money for a long time, investments and all this stuff. And with a child, you feel like you're in, I mean, you're in love. You feel like you're in a honeymoon. So nothing of what you plan for matters. It's just you and the baby. So the reality, especially your first baby. So the reality is, it was quite a bit of the messy to answer to you. And how things change. Well, they change dramatically because we developed a strong relationship with the money. So I would say we start treating money with respect, with more respect than like just like the relationship. You treat your relationship with respect and put the same respect into the money. So that's how it changed. And of course, when we talk about numbers, I'll tell you, our budget had to increase, right? Our allowance to ourselves to have a quality time with each other and with the baby had to increase. So, and of course, it's based on our philosophy. Our ability to earn income became so much more important for us than before.
Mm-hmm.
So that put us in the position that, wait a minute, we'll have to not only increase our saving, put in place our saving, create a budget, all this stuff, but we also had to work on increasing our income. So that answers your question. That
yeah,
I can share much more with that, but
Well, I have a couple more questions, but
Go ahead.
Let's see what our audience thinks. Let me see. Can you guys see a poll popping up?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So can you prioritize for us, see where you are at? and we'll take that in the conversation. By the way, guys, if somebody has a question, either write it in the chat and Gary will let me know, or we will have a moment where you can ask the question yourself if you wish, because the group is not so large. Well, just let us know that you have a question, okay? Did we all do it? 3 out of 6 voted, so everybody voted. Okay, so let's see. Let's share the results. So Dariusz, it seems that wealth building is something that you just mentioned a little bit of that, right? So that seems that it's on 50% of the minds here, and retirement planning takes 25% and protection 25%. Okay, that's a nice division. We can take that in our conversation.
So should we make a comment about these results?
Yes, please make a comment. So, I'm going to take it.
By the way, folks, no judgment here, right? And no, don't take it personally, right? Because when it comes to money, you have to have your own philosophy about it, right? Your own beliefs about it. But unfortunately, we are taking sometimes often advice from our peers, or folks who went through finances 30 years ahead of us, and the way they build their wealth, it might differ than the way our children will build the wealth, right? So I can tell you guys on those answers, the number one thing that really family that have a new baby have to look for, it's not actually building wealth, because there are so many ways you can build wealth today that is just like, it's almost confusing. We live in the era where the wealth has been created every single day, like literally, and it's hard to catch with all the trends, and when the new millionaires and billionaires coming in market. But what's really important is, and it surprised me that we have only 25% answers there, is actually protecting your income. That's the number one thing that is super important for you, because when you have a young children, until they really can create anything, you have to actually show them that you are, no matter what, the person who can earn income. So first, an ability to protect your ways of earning income is important, because it's the most important, because often we can actually lose the ability of earning income due to things like unexpected health challenges, right? Or you guys know, like last year we had a pandemic, and a lot of people lost their loved ones, right? Lost sources of income. So I'm not saying that you have to do this for a long time, but you have to have basic things in place. I would put it this way. And there are absolutely great tools that haven't been known back in the day. Like my parents never knew about things like how can I protect my income? Like they only knew about those like maybe heard sometimes about disability, right? But who can afford disability even today, right? Like it's disability insurance. But there are tools that are very affordable that they can actually protect your income, right? And especially when you're a young parent, this is actually must, because even if you're not going to use it today, it will surely benefit you in the future. So I just give a couple of things here. Just going to throw some numbers, guys. How important is that? 6 out of 10 adults, which is people over 18 years old in the United States, this data from CDC from 2020, right? 6 out of 10 adults struggle with one chronic disease today, in today's America. 4 out of 10 struggles with more than 2. So today's, it doesn't matter if you're over age of 60 or 80. Of course, that's the majority of the folks in that age group that struggle with those diseases. But also young generations becoming not very healthy, and that is actually ruining the family's ability to even create any wealth in the future if you don't have those things in place, especially when you're still healthy and when you have a newborn child.
Okay, then I have the next question for you, because what you're talking about implies in planning, right? And planning is looking into the future and setting out your goals and looking at your dreams and your goals and making a plan and all of that and putting everything into place. So how do you talk with children nowadays about planning? Because we live in a period where you have like bitcoins and e-coins and you know, the Amazon generation. You just order it and it's you know, at your front door in hours. So and financially, people, I talk to younger people and I hear that story too. Oh no, I don't think that I should protect myself. I can just put some money on bitcoins and, you know, or whatever the equivalent, and I'll invest and I'm having fun and I'm gonna get rich like that. So what
well,
you're talking about is not that, right?
well, it's okay. So let's put this into well, you know, first of all, when you talk to a child, right? And by the way, I've sat down with you know, with 5-year-old like my daughter. Even she's very up there with mostly with the getting what she wants, right? But we sit down daily with families, and they have children, and their children that, you know, somewhere around age 10, 11, 12, they start really thinking about like there's like everything is like either they must have it, or they literally have access to the internet to a lot of things that they probably wanted to use it and to build some kind of wealth or investments. They don't know much about the wealth. So the number one thing as a parent, well, when your child is growing, it's they don't really listen what you want to tell them. Like I can tell you guys, like I have not listened to my parents when they told me about money. Like for me, they're like, Mom, you're like a museum talking to me about stuff that doesn't even exist anymore, right? Which so we become parent deaf. Basically, kids are parent deaf. So what is very important is to have to find the relevance, right? But children don't listen to us, but they're watching us. So the point is here, what example are we showing in our own household and so I call this, when I sat down with my clients, say, look, get your house in order. And I'm talking about financial house, meaning is sit down with the professional advisor and talk about what's important for you, your goals. And I'll tell you guys right away, because I don't work with one company. I work with over 200 companies. I'll tell you guys, advice varies based on who you sit down with. Okay, so generally speaking, there are no like bad companies in the United States when it comes to financial advisory products they offer us. They're all good. Mm-hmm. The point is, most advisors work with one, maybe two, and their job is to sell it versus really sit down with you and look at your situation holistically and put a plan in place that you're actually going to be comfortable with and understand enough to bring that into your conversation weekly or monthly with your children, especially when you have teenagers. This is something that is missing in today's America's household. They basically, children do not know about their parents' real financial situation until the parents are very old, sick, or running out of money, or after death, and they just finding out, wow, we have a lot of bills to pay, or taxes to cover, right? So the reality here is that that conversation, it really starts from the parents, from our household. And I would say this way, conversation about money should be fun, should be creative and fun. And we, like in our household, what we do, for example, we even without Alyssa having much involved, me and my wife, we talk about our finances at least every 3 months. So basically what we do, there's one Sunday that we either first cook and sit and eat, and then we'll start talking about our goals, about our dreams, about our household budget. So going over your plan that was first created with your advisor. By the way, even if I'm in this space in 16 years, I still create my own plan with someone else, because I want someone look at my finances outside of the box, because we're exaggerating things. We don't look at our own thing as clearly as someone
Yeah.
who has no emotional attachment to it, right?
Yeah.
So that's very important. But bringing that really on weekly basis with the children to the into the conversation, it's very important, and just to make them be aware of what's going on in the household. Now, this also goes. Those conversations also sometimes are not easy, especially when the household struggles financially, right? And that could limit the child beliefs. That's why I would find the creative ways. And how to do that? Well, you can call Juliette, she will help you out with that, guys. But even parents today, look on YouTube how parents creatively talk to their children about money. Having the comfortable conversation about money is important, and without limiting beliefs of the children, what they can do, what they cannot do, right? And that's where it really starts. Now, of course, there are we can go through details. I don't know how much details you want to go through, but the reality is, like, it also, when you have teenagers, 16-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old, it's really good to teach them lessons. Teach them how the debt works. And how can you do that without ruining them or your own credit, but just give them the trial? Well, open a small credit card on your name and add them and put the limit on it. But do not open those credit cards on 0 interest. Get the one that is 30% interest. You will teach them very fast how that works, right?
Yeah, the rule of 72
the rules
working against you.
Yes, and by the way, the rule 72, and of course, and you'll see how really their relationship with the spending changes, right? Also teach them what are real assets, what are not assets, right? And in today's world, unfortunately, this is how we grew up. We grew up in beliefs that residence, when you will the home we buy, it's an investment.
Yeah,
it's not an investment. If you really know how Rule 72 works, an average mortgage cost is about 4% nationwide, right? So if you buy a house, we live in California, average house is over 500,000. So let's say 500,000, you buy the house here in California, right? In 18 years, the bank doubles their money on your property in the interest.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't even include the amortization of the property, right? That's your house will double in the equity, in more than double in 18 years. Maybe yes, maybe not. I don't necessarily look at this as an investment. And also we have some tax consequences. Anyway, so we talk about the wealth. Yeah.
I'm going to stop you for a minute because you are a wealth of knowledge, and I know that you can talk for another hour at least. But I want to open up and see if someone has a question in respect to what we are discussing here. Any of you have a question? By the way, as a thank you for you guys showing up, Dariusz and I are offering a financial review. If you want 60 minutes, we sit down with you and we look at what your dreams are and your goals, and we help you plan that. So before I forget, there you go. Yep. But so then we can go into your specific questions. But for now, because we have other people on the call, I would suggest a question that is a little more generic, maybe.
Sure.
Thematic, but not too personal.
Juliette, you know how passionate I am about this stuff, just like you are. But
Jamie,
feel free to cut me if I talk too much.
No, I love it, but I would like to include everyone here.
Absolutely.
That's why they are here. Jamie, would you like to ask a question?
Sure. So I've always been kind of told that a good rule of thumb when you're talking with kids and they first get some money to themselves, to teach them to look at it almost like in thirds, where you can spend a third, you save a third, and then you're generous with the other third. Is that still kind of the rule of thumb that you recognize and would recommend?
Well, so it depends at what age you talk to. So of course, any rules you put into in regards to money, it still works. It does work. So like I always use this as an adult. So I'll put this way. 50% of the earned income goes to the expenses, cover expenses. 40% goes to investments. 10%, it's fun money. That's how we look at it. And by the way, why I don't necessarily look at the 30, kind of 40 plan, because we live in the times, guys, that the prices and cost of living increases much faster, and it will keep increasing, and taxes also, than before. It will increase much faster. So unfortunately, instead of looking into how much you spend and limit ourselves on spending, we should not look at this as a problem. We should look at it as a problem that we have not enough income to keep up with the basically demand. Because the reality is, it's so hard to say no to children, right? I mean, as a parent, I know my child, if she push enough and she likes to push, she'll get what she wants sooner or later. Of course, putting the rules on it, absolutely. But I will put into it, you know what? What if we actually increase the income? How can you generate income? By the way, when you talk to teenagers today, showing them the way how to earn income. I'm not even showing them, but signing them for the courses, especially using technology these days, it can really bless them with their real wealth. So I wouldn't limit belief on how much they can spend as long as it's their money, not yours.
Yeah, well,
That's
so like
what I mean.
She's 10, so she doesn't have income yet. So it's more like
Gotcha.
gifts that she's given. So it's like trying to embed those good habits.
Absolutely. Then yes, these kind of rules works, and percentages really varies on how do you feel like about your personal situation more, right?
Yeah, and it depends a little bit on the culture too. My parents were Dutch, for instance, so they were very big on saving, and this was another time, of course, and very big on education. There was no higher value in my home than education. So for me, there's always a reserve until now for education, always.
So I want to touch on this because this is very important. So average American today turning 65 needs about $1.5 million for retirement. Now our children, so Jamie, you say your child is 10-year-old, right? So you can look at in Forbes reports, independent reports from Forbes. Children who are right now not even teenagers, they're going to need around 4 to 5 million for retirement at the minimum. So the reality here is, stricter you are on spending for necessities, but creating not even saving. Children need to know how to invest.
Yeah, saving.
And if they don't know how to invest, of course, they will know how to invest if we know how to invest. If not, they will have to learn from internet. And sometimes that will pay off. Sometimes they won't pay off. No. But they need to get familiar with the fear of losing. So it's teaching those skills. We were not taught those skills, right? I literally get into money game at age like 25. But the reality is, with the children, you can let them experience. So the mindset of that, by investing, they can get rich, not by saving. Saving will never make anybody rich or wealthy. Yeah. It's just impossible with today's, economy lifestyle to save your way to retirement. That was the case in our parents, and yes, they definitely could save to their retirements. I don't see that work anymore for the young generation. So investment and increasing ways to make money, keep them open-minded, sign them up for as many courses as possible. But courses, and here is something that when we talk often about money, you have to look at it, industries that actually are growing. So if the kid is talented in arts and crafts, and that's fine, put some time on that for them, right? Invest in that. But make sure you're also investing as much in their ability to be technologically advanced, right? This is so important these days because you don't want the children to be left behind, and that's the bottom line. Okay.
Yeah, you almost
Juliette, I know you have
to go back to an idea of a multi-talented kind of individual again, right? We come from a 20th century that was highly specialized, but now it's you have to have more talents. You have to be able to do more things actually simultaneously. That's the feeling that I get from this period. It's not
right.
anymore, not even the one job. I mean, talking about jobs nowadays is like, okay, they still exist, but are they gonna still exist in the future? Because nobody is doing it on one job. People have businesses, perhaps they have a job somewhere, but they also have a business, and sometimes they have two businesses, and it's becoming more diverse. And looking at children also starting much younger, not with that lemonade stand as a hobby, but really going into it as a serious business idea and developing their skills in that way. That's really very interesting. I find that a development that in our generation, and I have friends that from that lemonade stand, they developed an idea of business, but that came much later when they were adults, right? That's something you do as a child, and then fast forward as an adult, you're doing your business. But now you start as a child and you start already as a CEO. I mean, the level of engagement and the level of awareness is totally different than my generation and probably your generation, Dariusz.
So I want to add also something here. We often, as a parents, the number one thing we always think about our children, how we can protect them from making the least mistakes, right?
Yeah.
How can we protect them from those decisions that, and often we look at things like we take our advice from the internet. Oh my God, this might not work. You shouldn't be doing this, all this stuff. And in reality is like this. You always should have play money for your child to experience. Now, here are the couple good things, especially in the United States. In the United States, investment firms and financial services, generally speaking, are highly regulated. So, I could individually with every parent give them ideas based on what they really want for their children, to introduce you to platforms or your children to platforms that are legit, that are not scam, that are actually teaching you how to make money, how to save, how to, and especially for the children, and they're very user-friendly too, right? So these things, we shouldn't be overprotecting our children to not try, but we should also teach them risk to reward and cost averaging of everything that they put into investment, right? Especially when we talk about money. So, but again, that has to be implemented with when
Guided.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Guided. I don't see
Yeah,
that
has to be guided and it has to be implemented. But earlier, parents start implementing that knowledge with the children, inside the children, like that. The thing that they can get really wealthy in investing money and have a really good life, then it's going to be better. Because, folks, historically, in the stock market in the United States, we're doing phenomenally. Like if you're really looking at statistics, stock market made more billionaires and millionaires than any other industry outside of business. Not even real estate come close in the last 100 years. And by the way, of course, real estate and other, you can become wealthy as well and have a stable life. But I'm talking in average. Like when you look at the average number, it's actually stock market that outside of owning the business, it makes people, which is investment, makes people really wealthy. So it pays off when the children learn these things. And by the way, they are already born with technology that it's convenient for them to use things that we're still like not familiar with. So I would always give advice, to Jamie to give you the points here. When you do those numbers like 30, 30, 40 or 30, 30, 20, whatever it is that the number you put it in, have also that money that they can experience with. And even if they lose, it's okay. That's the part of anything they're gonna do to create the wealth. You need to take risk. And with a financial advisor professional, they will learn cost averaging. They will learn how to buy at the right price, how to what to do with this, how long to keep it, and all those details.
Yeah, and perhaps they don't start with putting 30% in something risky, but they start with, I don't know, 5-10% and see how that goes. Put their toes in the water, and then bit by bit start becoming more confident. Have a little bit, as you say, Jamie, to also gift. It's also a good idea to teach how to give back and to be a generous human being.
Right.
Money gives you that opportunity. Making money is the opportunity to also help others. That's how I see it, as a vehicle to help yourself, your family, and your environment.
Right, and children get being influenced by their association, just like we are, right? So exposing children to mission-driven cause. By the way, how to get child interested, especially teenager, into something long enough that they will pay attention. Teenagers love to contribute to something that is of cause. They want it to be part of something bigger, of something that is meaningful, that is creative. So there are a lot of good organizations that can help with that, right? But like I see ability to kids get financial wealth, much higher than our parents' generation or our generation was. Why? Because they have more opportunities. We just cannot limit their beliefs in it. Mm-hmm. And they cannot be scared about money because we were scared, or we have limited beliefs, or we are continuously talking about that we don't have enough money, or we cannot afford this. Instead of thinking about how can we afford this, how can we do this? Let's put the plan. Let's make a goal. Let's reinvest. Let's talk to someone who actually done it, right? Someone who's been in the industry, who's been licensed, all this stuff. So that all thing could literally that whole conversation with children, with someone who is outside, like with a professional, it could change trajectory of entire family. So that by the way happened to us, guys. Like when Alyssa was born, we literally took the fresh look and outlook on everything. Mm-hmm. So like, as a financial professional advisor, I was skeptical to new things like Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, all this stuff. But then the reality is, what can I say to the children who are actually changing their entire family lives?
Yeah.
By using it. But also there's a 90% of the population who are losing money. Mm-hmm. So where's the problem? The problem is with the literacy. The problem is with really bringing, teaching the basics about money and how to use money for the investment. So.
Yeah, and telling people that, or children, that you start by laying down a foundation.
Yes.
So then you start playing around with your money, not with the money that you don't.
Absolutely,
use, right?
Absolutely. So the best thing parents could do right now for the children, doesn't matter what age, start the plan for them, which is called foundation. We call this pay yourself first plan. That's what it is. And we are the owners of those plan, of that kind of plan. So we control the money, but we can always transfer the ownership when the child is 18, if we want to, right? So the reality is, when we have the foundation, we can protect those children from unexpected, from like I mentioned earlier, from maybe some health challenges in the future, right? Or things like taxation in the future, right? So if we don't take care of their children's plans, they're gonna start too late on that, because the reality is, like you guys answer on the
Oh,
question on the poll, the reality is everyone wants to invest. Like money makes money, but just starting from investing itself without having the foundation that starts from parents creates something called house build of cards. And any wind, an unexpected event, can literally ruin someone's financial situation, right? And sometimes for especially teenagers, it's a lesson learned, but it's also that will also prevent them from taking a chance again, a little bit different ways, because they're gonna have a bad taste about stock market investment. But when they have foundation, when they can't lose money, then you can afford to take chances. So basically, the whole structure of investment has to be built differently. So we start from foundation, which is things like protecting income. Like I call this like safe fund that is still yielding around 7 to 12% every year, which is much better than a bank, outpacing inflation. And then after that, when I have a plan like that for my daughter, so I don't really worry what she's gonna do with her own money when she's 16, 18, 20, because I know when she needs it, that fund is keep growing, right? And we're funding it every month for very little cost with my wife. Now, the second thing, I want her to learn how to have delaying gratification. Meaning is, this is something that when we want something today, we want to have it. So I implement this rule in our household: wait 7 days. If you still want it after 7 days, like you wanted the first time, then maybe it's a time to really think serious about it, right?
wow, yeah.
Because children, like, they want this today, and 3-4 days after, they want something else. So delaying gratification, and if this feeling is, yes, I really want this, then we create a plan how to get it, right? Okay. So basically we're teaching them also delaying gratification and teaching them some savings, right? That you have to save some money, have some liquid if something happened, right? Next thing, we teach them how to use the debt. So saying in today's world, and this is common, we hear this in our church. I'm going to use our famous radio show host, Dave Ramsey, which is a great guy, but he teaches everybody like debt is bad. No, debt is not bad. Debt is only bad for people who don't know how to use debt. But in reality, today, you can use debt to become really, really financially savvy and financially wealthy. So financial wealthy, like that's what we should teach our children. It's not bad. It's just a tool that you need to use it. And another thing is, the last thing we teach, we literally looking for the ways to invest. And like I said, there's so many ways to invest these days. Back in the day, people say, well, look, you need to wait and it has to be long-term. That's not necessarily true these days, that it has to be investment, have to be long-term. Over the course of time, most investments pay off. That's for sure. But so do investments pay off last year, last 2 years, last 5 years? And that's not a long time, right? So
yeah. When you say not a long time, you're talking about a period of 5 years, because investments for less than that are quick, right?
Well, so here's a couple of things that we need to understand about investments. You can have investment is tied to the rate of returns, right? So how much money our money make, right? So basically, what's the rate of return? So if you really use properly the tools in the stock market last year, and I'm not talking about cryptocurrency, right? I'm talking about controlled, well-known funds, like mutual funds, for example. They were up. Some of those funds were up 100% last year. That's how well stock market did last year. Even if we have a drop in almost 40% in March because of the pandemic, some of the mutual funds yield over 100%. So that's the 1 year return. But the point is, when what we need to teach is delaying gratification. Do not pull money out of the market after 1 year having a great time, because you will pay almost 50% in taxes if you do that. So while you keep in the longer, the tax taxes lower, right? I mean, it's basically gonna
Well,
you're not gonna pay as
better
much.
is not to pay taxes, right? But
Well, of course. So here is the thing. There's also, so this is not more. I mean, for the children. Well, one thing our children are gonna be really affected with, it's taxes in the future. So that's why I'm saying investment right now, 5 years, it might make sense to make some money quick and put into the vehicles that can grow without paying taxes. Why? Because the taxes in 10, 20, 50, 30, 40 years will increase. And they will increase tremendously. And why do we know that? Well, we can look historically on the taxes. Taxes, the highest margin income tax in the United States between 1941 and 1957, 58 was at 91%. I'm talking about the highest, right? Today, the highest is 37% per person. So, but our government just added $5 trillion into the economy that will have to be paid back somehow, right? So the tax is gonna skyrocket. Just today, we had the new proposal that our capital gain tax will be increased to from 20% to over 40%, and investment on digital currencies, which is cryptocurrency, there's a proposal to go to 80%, right?
wow.
Which is, by the way, these are only talks right now, but they're gonna implement some of this stuff. Now, also inheritance taxes will go up. Also, your property, your estate taxes will go up too. So wealthy people always know that there's a way to grow money tax with tax advantages, right? And we can have vehicles like that for our children, and just with the right timing, fund those vehicles when the taxes are high.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we can shelter the money and let the money grow without having consequences for taxes later, right? So that's how that's the one of the that's the part of building wealth basically, and I'll be more than happy to share some of the tools and concepts on the private session, and show you guys examples how my clients are doing it and what we do for them, and as long as it's suitable with your philosophy, with your plan, we can give you advice, and we can even move forward with you, right? Start something like that. But if it's not aligned with your philosophy, with your plan, then it's just will be as awareness for you. But I believe one thing: we need to educate ourselves every single day right now about finances, about the approach to our health, to our lifestyle, and the children right now are a big, basically they're like a mirror of those things. They're thinking different. They're implementing things much faster.
Yes.
We can learn so much from children, especially teenagers, that is just mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for coming back to that, because that was one of the things I asked in the beginning. I announced this as being teach your kids, but maybe we should be looking at the kids and learning from them, right?
Sure.
I see that it's almost 8 o'clock. It's amazing when we're talking about things that are so interesting that time flies. So I would like to open at this moment, see if either Charity or Jamie or Paul and Carol have a question that they would like to ask Dariusz before we thank you so much for being here, all of you, but wouldn't like to let this opportunity go without giving you the mic once again. So Jamie or Charity, do you have any questions you would like to ask?
I would just like to say thank you for the input. I coach kids from the age of 10 to 20. We're building the CEO business. We started finding their core values first. And I wanted to give them that strong foundation. So it's nice to know that by having them build that foundation and then look at what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve my husband and I are incredibly transparent with our finances.
Mhm.
We're not big fans on the debt. So we show the kids, we walk the walk, and we're like, hey, we want to buy a house. We saved up. For
Mhm.
5 years, we worked as a family and we paid cash for our house. So yeah, went without some cell phones, like stuff like that. But when the kids said they wanted a cell phone, we laid out a plan for them to work towards it, and it became their responsibility. So I like the fact that our outside the box thinking that got us a lot of weird looks, because we didn't go and just buy everybody the $1,500 cell phone on credit and rack up all this debt and then just give. We were actually doing things correctly before we even knew it. So go us. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
Oh, you're welcome. And by the way, phenomenal that hear from you, Charlie, that you actually, so you see, you guys sacrifice and make this happen without putting yourself into the bad debt. But now you can use that equity to basically have a good debt. So
yes,
there's always, like I said, there's not a one way to generate income, lower taxes, create the investment stuff. But with the children, so you're coaching 10 to 20-year-olds. Well, I would love to have just a brainstorming maybe session with you, because here is the thing. Children are conditioned based on their parents and then circumstances they're in. And so I've seen 20-year-olds that are saved up, and they came from very, very, very I would say frugal families, and they're in society that they'll call them poor families, and they're saved up. But the point is, what they saved up and building wealth, they're two different things, right? And but I've seen also children who live half of their lives have got literally nothing, and not even awareness of how much life better could be if they just took the right steps. So
it would be, I'd love to have a meeting with you sometime. That would be great, because I got a couple kids whose goals are just to not be stressed out. What bill do I pay so I can buy a pair of shoes? I'm like,
great.
What? Really? I'm like, whoa, okay, the bar's really low on this one. But then there's another one who's really interested in learning investments.
Oh, wow.
So he's in, that's way over my head. So yeah, I will, Juliette, if you could make a connection for us, that would be wonderful.
We're going to make it happen. Absolutely.
Rock on.
Now, one more thing with the children, just to, especially with it, they approaching the college time, right? They always question themselves, who's going to pay for it, right? Should I go to this school? Should I borrow the money? They our children watch as much news as we do, so sometimes they're more, right? So yes, but the reality is we shouldn't be. I mean, I look at it this way: is borrowing for college is a good idea? It really depends what's the goal and what the child wants, really, right? But the point is here, it's also teaching a lesson if they borrow money. Now, and it is something has to go with the parents have to bring awareness. Like, you don't have to borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can borrow up to 50,000, right? Which is still a lot of money to pay back. But in reality is, you can work harder to get some of that in the grants, right? Like what I see parents doing today, they're doing something that I mean, like we want to help our kids, but we're actually doing them this favor. We will co-sign their loans, or we will actually pay for their schools. I wouldn't. I say, you want to go to college, it's 100% your responsibility to go to college. You can borrow money, and I want to be sure that if you borrow money, you finish the college. Because what I've seen today in children is what is happening. They're changing their mind all the time, and which is okay. But because it's so easy for them to not complete something, and they feel like they're gonna have to pay forever for that school, which is not true. And some of this college loan school, that it could be deferred so much ahead, that with the ability to earn income, really, not outside of your job, employment after your college, it's just, it shouldn't be a problem to pay off, you know, 50,000 for any child, especially if you can defer, lower the rates. So it's more about the philosophy, right? And then, and of course, if there's a struggle there, where if parents put the things in place earlier enough, they can always use the funds to kind of to pay it off later too. But what the people do, they actually give in first to the children and let them use it. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
It's something versus and something for something, right? You have to earn it first.
Exactly. That's kind of the whole foundation I'm trying to lay is like, okay, make the goal, but now you guys earn it, because they do take care of things a lot better when they have to do the work. And
Exactly.
I'm like, whoo.
Well, you know, but here's the thing, Charity. I'll tell you, like today, 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they understand perfectly well others people money concept.
Yeah, they do.
Like, so my daughter has no problem saving her own money, and she has no problem spending our money.
True story.
And if she can't get it from us, she will go get it from grandma, from everybody else.
Yes.
And by the way, and how bad would be control that if the kid has an urge to figure out how to get something without putting herself in trouble. That is a skill that most adults can't figure out today, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's that, because we've been conditioned. Stop doing, don't do it, right? No. Why not? I'm using her own money.
Right. Brilliant.
I want to start by thanking all of you here, and it was really a fantastic meeting. I really love this kind of thing. I think that, you know, I learn a lot too from you, Dariusz. I keep learning. It's really amazing, the knowledge that you have, the experience, the expertise, and the heart also. You know, you bring it with so much heart and so much dedication to families in the United States. And well, if we go international ever, you'll be doing the same thing internationally.
Absolutely.
But it's the way you do things. So thank you so much for that, Dariusz.
You're very welcome, Juliette. And one thing I want to mention to you guys is the transparency and showing the examples. So in today's world, when you talk to advisor, if they can show you the examples of situations, how they've been done, and like walk through the client, where the client were here, their children, where they are today, it's just not real. What we do with our advisory, we're basically wearing your shoes, and for that moment, and we walk you through the scenario we worked in before, so you can see it, the strategy yourself. You can understand better, and you can ask smarter questions because of that, right? A lot of things today, still parents implementing on the children one thing, they think the banking system and our traditional ways of saving money investments, it's something that is going to be suitable for the children. It won't be. Unfortunately, it won't be. Everything goes digital. Banks do not care about future of your children. And neither their employees, who's going to be replaced within the first 5 years if they last 5 years, or shift around the different branches every 3 months. So there's no really personal relationship built between advisors anymore and children and the parents. And we didn't put this we didn't even talk about this, but how important it is to build that relationship. Well, I've seen cases the parents are aging and they start forgetting things, and the children's are, you know, they're on their own already. They live somewhere else, and unfortunately, instead of having the last years of quality years, they're struggling, the parents. Or after all, children are struggling because they have to pick up the bills. And that could be really avoided if the parents brought their children to and build a relationship with advisors. And don't be afraid of the younger generation of advisors, because they're thinking a little bit different. because we live in this stereotype as a parents, like, no, this guy probably or girl is probably not good enough. We want our, 30-year advisor we build relationship with, which might be phenomenal, but you might be missing on the stuff that this advisor is not learning anymore, or not doing it. So I believe it's like this. There's no good or bad. We have to be open to basically relationship building and different opinions and different examples and going through this, because again, what worked 30, 40 years ago, it's not going to work for our children. It's just
Juliette and Dariusz, I want to say this is really great because I know in my family, growing up, no one talked about money. So I think this is so healthy to have these conversations. And one of the things I do with my employees in my construction company is I show them the bid. I show them how many hours I bid for every section, because they think, oh, you're so rich, you just make tons of money. I'm going, no, we lost money. I made a little bit of money in this job. So I create challenges for them to hit the numbers. Take them out to breakfast, which I just did with 2 employees.
And you are transparent, and that's transparency is the key to building the relationship. And and building the security with your association. Same thing is with the children. When they know there's a transparency, they feel safe. They feel they know there's a trust.
Yeah, you know what is happening, what the stakes are, and you can start talking about how to really think about your own priorities too as a child. It might not align always with what your parents want, and vice versa. So it's good to talk in a very open way. But that is something that not everyone is doing. So yeah, from my side, I can promise you that I'm going to try to do this kind of educational session at least once a month. And since this is the month of financial literacy, Dariusz and I are doing one next week for business owners, entrepreneurs. So if you guys want to hop on as business owners next week, same channel, I'll send you the invitation, invite people that you know that will benefit from this. And I'm going to thank you all very much. It's past a little bit 8 o'clock. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but this was my pleasure. I love doing this kind of thing, and I'm so happy you guys could make the time to be here. So thank you so much. And Charity, I'm going to set up a meeting with us to continue the conversation. Jamie, the same thing for you. If you want to do that, it will be our pleasure. So guys, take good care out there. I took my 2nd vaccine today, so I'm almost good. Hope to see you soon.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.